Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
Wonderful. Having another monsoon.
Oh, really? It's not raining here in Pink Hill.
It's coming your way. 'Cause I just
Okay, well, Chris, you're breaking up on me, buddy, but
County back that way. It's coming.
okay, yeah, I believe it. Okay, well, my internet's not that great, I don't think. Uh, Seems to be freezing. Oh, well. Is that you, John?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me make you boss of the thing here. Assuming I can manage that.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you. It's been a while.
You haven't aged a wrinkle.
Oh, bullshit. I'll pay you later. You're pretty damn good too, man. I bet I haven't seen you in 10 years.
It seems like yesterday.
Exactly. I feel the same way about that. But we're really glad you're here, and we're going to wait a little bit to gather, and folks will stream in throughout is normally the normal process. And just to we'll I don't know if that's Chris trying to talk, but anyway, we've got a kind of a mixture of folks. We have a farmer in Chris Neal, who is the largest butterbean grower in North Carolina. It's a really big operation. We have John Arnold, who is a manufacturer of mixes and spices and that kind of thing, and distributes in 41 states around the country. We've got Branson Edwards, who is has an internet radio station, is a media guy, and he's just too cool for school is all I can say. we got quite a mix here. Doug Thomas has invented mobile ass-kicking gear, basically martial arts equipment that is mobile and you can hide in your pocket or whatever, and then really take someone out real quick, and others. So I think what I'll do, we'll go ahead and get started. Just fair warning, John, it is being recorded, and we do have a fair number of people who, because they're working, they watch the recording. So that also can have, you might get questions that of people that weren't even here today. Not unusual. Grant, you're here, so you can take over the admissions, hopefully, as people show up. Grant's my intern. He's John Rothenberger II, young guy on his way up. And so let me introduce everyone to my friend John Rothenberger. John is a longtime friend. He and I served on a board at JMU for many years, but he was only 12 when we started, so he's still really young. And he's now on the board of visitors of JMU, so he's a big shot. You can be impressed with that. But also, John was born on a farm and raised on a dairy farm in Pennsylvania. So he has an agricultural background, which is kind of unusual in my experience from Northern Virginia, where we both lived for a long time. And so I'm going to introduce John, and please take it away, John Rothenberger.
Hey, thanks, Dennis, for having me. I appreciate it. Good to be connected again.
Yeah.
In the old format. Yeah, thanks everybody. It sounds like I'm not sure I'll necessarily be able to help you guys, but maybe I'll do 30 minutes of myself and try to give you some of my background, and then maybe I can field some questions or what have you. We can make it interactive if that works for Dennis and
yeah, that's great. Whatever you want to do, we're easy.
Okay. So just to clarify, that is a bit of a misnomer. I did not actually grow up on the dairy farm.
Oh, darn, you ruined my intro.
Yeah, however, I am part of a dairy family. We're just on the processing side of it. So I grew up amongst the dairy farmers, but my family's plant, so to speak, the pasteurizing and homogenizing plant, was in the town of Reading, Pennsylvania. So I worked with the farmers' families who also worked at the dairy. We were a very, very small dairy in 1937, I think 5 people. And by the time I kind of exited out, we were about 450 employees and delivering milk and drinks all over the Northeast region. So I'm originally from Reading, Pennsylvania, and I grew up probably at 13 or 14 going into the dairy plant and doing every menial job that was my dad pointed to do. I did. So in many ways, I kind of learned what I didn't want to do. So I did go to JMU. I graduated from James Madison in '88, and it probably wasn't until I worked a year that I found out that I was really sort of more inclined to be an entrepreneur. And I guess that was always there in the making, because if any of you have gone with or grown up with family businesses, that's pretty much what we talked about at the dinner table. Pennsylvania is not it's more of an industrial agricultural state. So our table conversations were about, how does the business run? What employees performed well? Which ones didn't? Why this was happening? Why this wasn't happening? And Many times I think we felt like business and success and food on the table was touch and go. Um, but we're effectively an operating family, right? So my dad was an operating guy, and we went in early to work and left late. And to give you an idea of the margins that we were working with, but the dairy pasteurizing processing side is 0.5% of operating income. So you can do the numbers there. You got to do and sell a lot of milk and a lot of cottage cheese and a lot of butter to make 0.5% to your bottom line. So my story is I graduated and I went back to work, and I quickly remembered what I didn't like about the dairy industry and the business, and I left Reading and I joined a friend down in the technology sector in the DC area. And so, yeah, I think real quickly there, I figured out that small business entrepreneurship was for me. And I think there was one pivotal moment where I asked, should I go to get a job at a big company or should I go get a job at a small company? And my dad asked me, well, what do I want to do? And I said, well, I want to control my own day like you. I want to operate my own business like you. I want to be the boss of my day and my decision making and my earnings, whether that be little or a lot. And then his advice was to go to work for a small company versus a big one and learn how to run that business and operate that business, and then try to go out and start on your own. So that's what I did. I was the 7th employee of a small IT company back in 1989. And I really helped this small business owner grow the business and build the business. And probably classic stories you guys have heard or seen. But I did ask the person who owned the company for if he would consider me for some stock and some equity in that company, because I was working so hard and helping him grow the company. And he said, absolutely, 100%, I want to do that, but I can't do it today. And so, okay, well, when can you do that? And he said, in a year. So I said, I'm perfectly happy with that. Was excited to be part of the company. And, but I also knew that maybe it wouldn't happen. So around the 11th month, 10th and a half month, I went back and asked, are you planning to give me any equity? And he said, no, I'm not. I can't do that again. It's going to be another year. So yeah, I remember those cartoons growing up while I was watching those. And I said, well, I figured that. And I went and took another job. And of course, that other job was not valuable to me and I didn't love. And so I had been writing and sketching business plans out and thoughts out for the last year. And at 26, I launched my first business, which was very similar to the small business that I had learned and cut my teeth on. And I really knew how to do a lot of the jobs in there. And so it was kind of my turn to try to do a startup and lead. And I did do it in a bootstrap manner. And that probably stemmed from my growing up in an operating sort of bootstrapping family. I mean, we just didn't spend what we didn't have. And I think there are lots of pros and cons to it, and a lot of benefits to that, but there are also plenty of negatives to it. So The short version of that story is I was very, very focused on bootstrapping and spending, and I had borrowed some money from my parents to get the business started, and we were successful. We made the Inc. 500 list, number 334 at our 5th year. And if you know that, that's a legit list because you have to submit 5 years of tax returns. So that was exciting. We got to $25 million and we had 55, 60 employees, and I was just a kid. But I was running that business like my dad, like an operator. And I wasn't necessarily forward thinking that business. And I remember when I hit the 5th year, my accountant said, "Congratulations, you're a millionaire, you made it." And I thought, hey, I don't really care about that. All I care about is that I'm going to be able to run this for 75 years because I finally got out of the startup phase and I have a successful business. Well, that couldn't be more the opposite of what happened. And Dennis probably remembers my story, but I did do a speech after I sold my first business about the difficulty of giving up something that I started, but the relief in being able to move on and move forward too. So what
I
happened?
do remember that. I remember that.
What happened was that the industry changed. And I was a young man, 32, 33, and really, I think I'd set my sights on, I made it to the 5th year. That means I'm going to be my dad and operate this business for 75 years, show up every day at 8, leave every day at 5:30 or 6, make sure the trains are running on time, control my day, control my quality of life, my earnings. And I was really happy. Well, the industry changed so quickly that it was reflected in my margins and my sales. So while sales were staying the same, my profit margins were lessening and getting smaller. So the difficulty there was, of course, my profit margins were 10, 11 times what, actually 20 times what my parents' margins were. So I was operating in the 9, 10s, and 11%. And they started to drop. So it was a bit of a hard realization for me. But when I did realize it, I did have a mentor who I was able to talk to about it. And we quickly realized that the end was near. So we did a major change. We changed the entire company, changed the name of the company, changed the focus of the company, and did a pretty rapid transition to a different model, of which helped me sell the business 20 months later, but also there were some mistakes that went along with those choices. One of those mistakes was I picked a new area that would go into the quadrant of daunting. So daunting would be a market area where to get traction, to get sales, you have to create a lot of awareness or a lot of knowledge or do a lot of teaching. And that's what happened for me. So we were able to sell the business because we were one of the first in a really new area and a really new space. But the price of the business wasn't what I had dreamed about or thought was proper. And that was because we couldn't, the smart person was the buyer. The smart person bought a company already into a brand new daunting space. So we did all the hard work. The price they paid was reflective of the minimal amount of revenue that we had. And so when I reflected back 18 months after the sale of my business, and I did an important exercise, which I'd encourage all of you guys to consider doing. I reflected back on everything that worked and everything that didn't work in the 7 years that I started and ran that business. And what ended up happening was that we weren't watching, and because in some ways I was bootstrapping the company, and I didn't have any other partners in the business, really, with the exception of my dad, which really wasn't a contributing partner. We lost sight of the marketplace. So when we had to do a change or a pivot to survive, we did survive, and it was exciting, but we picked an area where I probably would never go again, and I certainly wouldn't repeat that error. So, with that said, I did sell the business. I did put some money in my pocket. I did probably more importantly, learn and become a pro or a professional with everything I had to do and learn in that 7 years. So those 7-8 years really laid the groundwork more so for my future successes versus a one-time build and a one-time return of significant money. So I was exhausted after that. I took a whole year off. I thought I was going to take 2 months off. I had gone through a divorce. If you all know, entrepreneurship has a lot of impact on relationships. So I didn't realize how tired I was. It took me about 12 months to start to feel creative again. And then I went to work for the mentor. And when I thought that would work out incredibly well, that worked out incredibly poorly. As I found out that when you're working for that particular person, he didn't consider himself a teacher anymore. So he was fine teaching while I was a peer, but as soon as I became an employee, he told me I'm done teaching. So that was good because all entrepreneurs need a catalyst and
Kick in the ass, in other words.
Yeah. 9/11 hit, and that was a very impactful event for me because I was trapped in Arlington, and I could see the smoke billowing out of the Pentagon. And as a native Pennsylvanian, I really didn't have much of a civic sense for duty, but now I did. So the short version there is we built and created and started a business, my second business, to help the Department of Homeland Security and any of the other intelligence agencies stand up the area of expertise that I had started in the previous company. So by that time, that effort and that area of expertise started to become more popular. If you read that book, Crossing the Chasm, there's this timeline of acceleration of a business when sales are small, sales are big, sales level off. And so the timing was much better. And hi, Elizabeth.
Hey, John, how are you? Good to see you.
And you two guys, you guys never age. It's unbelievable.
I know, you need to come down here.
All
We got
right,
good
well, it must
weather.
be Carolina, I guess.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay, yeah. So I entered the federal contracting space, which was pretty new to me. Although what was parallel was the fact that it was very new. It was also very chaotic. And if you remember when they stood up the Department of Homeland Security, I mean, the notion of Homeland Security was very new. So that was very familiar to me. And we created a great business with a great mission, a mission that was bigger than the stuff we were doing during the day. And I had a 10-year plan, and that didn't play out, but it did play out in 14 years. And in 2018, we sold that company to, believe it or not, an old customer from my first business. So, yeah, I then kind of officially retired and had been spending the year with a family. I have a 17-year-old daughter and a 14, 15-year-old son, and was kind of thinking, okay, well, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And in the interim, I was encouraged to, if you can remember, I was telling you about this sort of dilemma about operating a business for 75 years versus building a business to be sold or getting the value out of it. I was encouraged because I was bored, and I wasn't very excited, and I didn't love what I was doing anymore. So I was encouraged to sell that company. And so I did. And I had a little bit of reluctance, just like I had the first time, because I think when you own something and you create it and then you turn it over to somebody else, there's a lot of mixed feelings that go along with it. But this time I didn't have very many mixed feelings. I enjoyed the security that the sale of the business provided me and my family. And so I moved on. And so what I decided to do in the last year and a half is I put together Volition Partners, which is just me and two of my support, finance, and office manager people. And we have found two young entrepreneurs to put my time and my experience and some of my money behind. And that's been a lot of fun. We're just closing the 5th year of the first one. And as a young entrepreneur, 27 years old, and I've been mentoring and coaching him, and the business is doing very, very well. And its profit margins are triple what the second business was. So we're getting smarter with time, which I think happens with business people. And business is all about where you spend your time and how you spend it and the decisions you make alongside it. So the second business is launched the last 4 months. It's totally something different. It's in a youth sports academy style business, because we feel there's a huge problem in youth sports in America. They're broken, they're misguided, they're misled. It's no longer about the kids, it's more about the adults and the parents. And so we've launched an academy style business and got a really big coach to come and join us last week. And so that's how I'm spending my days, which is really kind of my expertise. Really, now that I'm 55, it's really about helping entrepreneurs. And I think my area of expertise is better with, if you want to call it blocking and tackling, or rural-based businesses where they're typically smaller owner-operator style businesses and problems. and to deal with. That's what I ended up growing up with. Even though I was in the tech IT field, I still really tended to not really be innovative with the product, but more innovative in the way that we performed our operations, or innovative about the way that we timed our market entry, or innovative about the chaos and the size of the problem that we addressed. All entrepreneurial streams. You don't have to invent a search engine, as you know, to be entrepreneurial. So, I think when I reflect back on these businesses that I'm starting now, a lot of the same questions. Do I give up control to grow the business? Do I maintain control of the decision making, but then go with some of the cons that go along with not taking any help or not taking any money? So I'm sure, as you guys know, I want preaching to the choir. When you're bootstrapping, you're frugal by nature. Dairy people are frugal by nature. I mean, they grow up, squeezing blood out of a turnip. So there's not a lot of money to spend, and we make a dollar go pretty far. So there are really big positives to being small business operators to that. But some cons to that are, it was hard for me to get out of my own way sometimes. It's hard for me to get out of my own head sometimes. The first business, it was proved to be impossible for me to give up control of the business decision making. And so therefore I chose to hire people who were not smarter than me. And so I became the limit and the ceiling of my business's success. And there were plenty of successes and plenty of failures. Today I'm looking at it, and the second business, I corrected that. I hired two guys who were way smarter than me, way better at the job than me. And actually, I didn't end up giving up control. Even though I gave up the president title, I didn't really give up decision-making control because I maintained a majority of the stock. So in these third round of businesses where I'm more of a teacher or a mentor, a coach, an investor, but I'm not carrying it all on my back every day. The problems are the same, but different. Some of them are, the first business in our portfolio is I'm faced with the same problems I had in my very first business. Should I put a lot more money into it and scale it more quickly? If I don't, what are my risks? I may risk that somebody catches up to my model, somebody who just steals my model and plugs it in, and then I'm very limited to the market share that I can earn. So I'm really in between having people invest some money into my business to help it grow and scale, versus do I keep it smaller and controlled? And I'm leaving some of those decisions up to the entrepreneurs. One entrepreneur is interested in being more of a controlled business. The other entrepreneur is more like, I don't care about anything except putting more money in my pocket. So if we grow and we scale and I get more money in my pocket, that's what I want to do. So just lots of different ways to be successful. What I was telling Dennis that my forte, which is a bit different here in the Washington area, is I'm trying to help smaller business entrepreneurs prepare for a combination of improving their quality of life and also potentially getting their business ready for to be sold at some point, because the selling of the business can be a life-changing event for a family or a person. So that's different. Those are two different styles, and the contrast is, you know, my family's dairy business, where, look, we got up every day and we felt like once we were 5-10 years doing it, as long as we came in every day, worked our butts off, watched all the trains run on time, gave great customer service, delivered a quality product, and operated every day, we would take care of our family and be successful. And that, of course, is one way, but it also doesn't necessarily translate into having an exit or the sale of your business. Matter of fact, I think most of the time, all small business entrepreneurs and operators and owners believe their business is worth a lot more than it really is. So in contrast, we try to make a balance to help an entrepreneur like Doug or John or Chris or what have you take as much out of the business to improve their quality of life and their family's quality of life during the year, while also creating a business that has the potential to be sold if you decided that that's what you wanted to do. So, you know, there's a 30-minute rundown of sort of my background. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'd be happy to elaborate on a topic that you're facing, or Dennis, you would like more deep dive into. Happy to do that, but I want to give everybody a chance to say boring, or hey, really interested in this.
Where's the gong? Where's my gong? I want a gong, man.
Right.
No, John, number one, I really appreciate your candor and your openness and honesty. You know, so many people blow smoke up everyone's ass all the time. So it's really great to have somebody who kind of lays it out there. And, you know, I know a lot about your story. I was around for some of it. So I really appreciate you reaching out. I think I'll start off the questions if it's all right, unless somebody just dying. But John, one of the things that, you know, we obviously work with small businesses, and we try to help. Most of them are in fact bootstrapped. Could you talk a little bit about like how you find potential businesses to help, and kind of how that process works?
Sure. I mean, when I was the in-residence entrepreneur at JMU, I was not surprised, but I think the university was super surprised at how many people came in from the Valley who were just interested in entrepreneurial help in general, just processing help. I mean, I'm sure as many as you know, and I had neighbors, I mean, as smart as any farmer can be, right? I mean, we had farmers, neighbors who were inventing, you know, bio fuel devices and turning their manure and stuff into fuels. And so, you know, they just hadn't necessarily had any contact. So when we opened that up in the Shenandoah Valley, I mean, it was like, I mean, there was a line around the corner, and so, wow, we don't even know what we're getting ourselves into here. So the answer is really through those channels. The word of mouth parts of it. I mean, people like you guys have who come and reach out to your accelerator or what have you for help. It's really more done as in a networking fashion than any kind of real systematic way.
Okay. All right. So let's open it up. Anybody, John, you want to start off? John Arnold?
I'm drawing a little bit of a blank. I'm just like every other class. I'm always trying to take the information which is I really enjoyed your story, John. I'm originally from Pennsylvania too, by the way, York County.
That's why I called on you, John.
But I'm trying to wrap my mind around your story and equate it to the food manufacturing business, which is what we're in. And at this stage of my life, I really have no thoughts or ambitions of selling the company
Okay.
at any time. My son's now in the business, so I
Perfect.
plan on just passing it along to him.
Perfect.
We have managed to grow it year by year, the 10 plus years we've had it. So just looking for ways to expand and to continue growing, especially in the way things are changing.
Yeah, so probably still today, John, at 55, my one of the most important things I ever wanted to do was work with my dad. And
There you go.
yeah, I mean, I was 13 years old. I stumbled up the steps, and my uncle, his only brother, and him shared an office, and I thought, they were like presidents of the United States sitting there at the desk. So, and I just thought
They were the president of Reading, Pennsylvania, I believe.
yeah, I just thought that was the coolest thing on the planet, and never wanted anything more than to work alongside him and grow that business. And I'm happy to spend offline time too, talking a little bit about maybe some ways to expand the business, because I don't know anything about what you're doing. But we were basically pasteurizing, homogenizing milk, making cottage cheese, making butter, pasteurizing orange juice. We created our own iced tea, and that was really popular. We had a really popular chocolate milk. At one time, we bought an ice cream dairy, which was the call that I hated the most at dinner time, when the phone rang and it was Wally from the ice cream business, who needed some help for 10 hours a day sticking popsicle sticks into Dixie cups. Hey, I mean, I was glad for the $14 an hour, but at 14 or 15, I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this one. So, I think that's a planning process, John, too. That's really important. And are you the first generation, and would your son be the second?
Yes.
So I would have been the third generation, and they have incredible classes to take on family business succession and planning. And I just highly encourage you to read any of those. Dennis or I could easily find some good books. But family business, generational ownership of the business is, at some of the finest business schools, one or two of the best classes.
Yeah, we offer it at ECU. We actually have a program with a very high-rated professor, and it's a big deal. They put a lot of effort into that here,
especially in Carolina and Pennsylvania, and it's just where there's so many small businesses, family businesses. But there's every horror story in the book, John, with family business successions and also super successful, powerful family stories. And I think setting them up right and having the agreements clear and no guessing games and stuff is super, super important for whether you have more than one son, or whether your son takes over and then he gets set up for his kids to continue to build the business. Because the dairy example is 85 years in the running. So if you're not, we're all going to die. So somehow we've got to deliver what we've built to our wherever we want to. We either sell it or we hand it off. And I would just really encourage you to to, I guess, not do what most family business people do, which
Exactly.
is just expect that things will go the way that you want.
There you go.
It's kind of like setting up your will. A lot of people don't want to set up their will and their estate because they don't want to really think about dying. And it's the same way with your business. And then all of a sudden, when you check away, everything's left up for interpretation. And that is never, ever a good scenario for the business.
Chris Neal's got a family farm where he's maybe dealing with some of these issues. Chris?
Yeah, I can relate to your story a little bit, and I really enjoyed it. I was kind of like you. When I got out of school, got out of college, I was getting the hell off the farm. I had to go. I was going to do something different. I got out, and I actually built 2 companies up, but the difference between you and I wasn't smart enough to spin them off. I wasn't smart enough to sell them. When I'd got one of them up to $1 million worth of contracts a year, I should have sold it. I didn't. I said, oh no, we're going to keep doing this. And of course, as things change, it never works out. The big picture never works out. So I come back home. I didn't go back home and start farming with the family. I'm not a person that want to do something on my own. I just didn't want to go that route. I wanted to be in the vegetable end of it, and they were in another end. So we own Carolina Butter Beans, and we own the downtown fresh markets. And but I've got 2 boys that's going to be coming into it also, and everything don't work out every day as planned. That's for sure. But we do the best we can.
Yeah.
No, I hear that. I really, really resonate with those family business stories, because I was that boy, running into my grandfather's, place. And the good news about the story part in the first half of the presentation is that all of these mistakes, Chris, when you get, the older you get in the business world, the better you get. And
I really question myself on that sometimes.
There's an exception to every rule, Chris.
Yeah, but I mean, look, you can not, I made a mistake, and I didn't make that same mistake in the second one. And I heard this line recently, which I really thought highly of, because I thought it reflected back on me and some of my decision making. But I think it applies to all small business entrepreneurs and people who are entrepreneurial. But don't be afraid to do more when you're in fear.
You're right about that. It seems like that's when I make my boldest moves, is when you're scared as hell because you're already broke, for say, especially in the ag world. That them times a year, how it goes. You may have a bad year. We're having a bad year this year. So seems like I make my boldest moves, and I think, what the hell am I doing? At the worst times of a financial. When you're scared to death.
Well, John, I want to John.
There's another little rule maybe for John too, but for Chris, which I have used for the last 15 years, is always proven to be true. But when you're thinking about growing and you're thinking about expanding, you want to think about selling new things to old customers and old things to new customers. So that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So you're in food, you're in agricultural, and you have this customer base. And really, at the end of the day, that's what you have. You have a customer base. And what you want to be thinking about is, well, what will that customer base buy from me? And this is the greatness and the notion of Sam Walton and Walmart. He started a 5 and dime store. So what he didn't even start it, he bought one. But what he loved was selling new shit to old repeat customers and doing it in volume and at discount 5 and dime prices. And that's what happened. And he never let off the gas. And he just happened to create enough stores with enough market share in an area where nobody knew where he was going or coming from, that he had a power to go and unseat a bunch of other players. And so wherever you are is a microcosm of that world. And so, my dad was not really very entrepreneurial. He was an operating guy. He came.
That's me. I'm a worker.
He came every day and he'd say, I'm a worker. That's what I do. Okay. But it's not impossible for anybody to be saying to themselves, well, these are my customers and they're buying these things from me. What else could I sell them? Because they're already my customers. The other strategy it can be used in parallel is, well, I need to get new customers. Well, you never go get new customers with something new to sell, especially if you're already in business. You sell what you already know and what you already do well to a new customer. And if you implement both of those in parallel, or just try them and see what happens. Because that's all Sam Walton did, was try it. And he got that customer to come in and buy that trinket. And then he decided, well, hey, I better put those potato chips on the end of the island because I really want to sell those potato chips. And the same thing with vegetables. I mean,
that's right. And we sell a lot of knick-knack type stuff too in the market. And I told my son yesterday, I said, you need to get prepared when you get ready to do this live sale you fix and do online, you need to try to sell this particular item. And the first thing he looks at me and says, it won't sell. I said, how the hell do you know it won't sell? You hadn't tried. And it's different. And if you don't try it, you won't know.
Yeah.
You've already got it in inventory. It's paid for.
Yeah, that's right. Now that even needs to go even more, right? Because this is again, Sam Walton said, I already bought this. So I need to put this on a rack in a place where somebody's going to see it and buy it at a price that works. And that is his entire game. Go ahead, Dennis.
A couple of things. First of all, both John and Chris are pioneers in a whole new way of going to market. And so they go live and sell products on live streaming. They go live and sell. You can actually buy it from the video. You don't leave and go to a store. You actually buy it in real time. And John has been doing it longer, and he's got customers in California, New York, all over the country. So many of the folks in this class are looking at ways of selling their old shit to new people. I mean, that's basically what we're talking about. And
this is what it's afforded. It's an incredible opportunity to do that, to reach, people in a totally different way through YouTube or whatever.
Yeah. Also, this is for Chris to tell his son. So when I was listening, when I got out of college, I was actually going on active duty in the Army, and they lost me for like a year. So I didn't know what to do. So I went to work at a Toyota dealership that a guy I grew up with owned. He was older than me, but I knew him. So I became a Toyota salesman. And he put me under the wing of the used car guy, who was this incredible teacher. He was great. And he bought this orange Celica. It was the ugliest car I had ever seen. And I just said to him, why in the hell did you buy that car? And he looked at me and said, you just remember this, Trotz, there's an ass for every seat. That car sold the next day for the highest margin the dealership had ever done in their history. And so that's what I learned. So there's an ass for every seat. Tell your son that.
You got that, Hayden? There's an ass for every seat. And it's always that product that you don't think would sell will bring the most profit.
Yeah. That's what that's why I always say, I don't know how the hell I ever got my wife, and John knows her well. Same sort of thing. Like, where the hell did that come from? Right. So anyway, well, listen, John, we're gonna pull it to a close, but I would like to invite you back at some point. I think don't you guys think he's a candidate to be a mentor in our program?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I think, John, you've just been elected
Absolutely.
to our group of mentors.
Got my vote.
Yeah, many of you know John, and it's a really cool group. So I think you would like it. It's not a heavy lift. It's just people reaching out for stuff like this. So I don't know. I think John did great. Everybody, I'm gonna clap for him because I think he really was honest and really talked to us in a real way. So I'm going to I'll post John's contact information in our group. He's an open guy, great guy, and we're very fortunate to have him care about us to address us. So thank you, John, very much.
My pleasure. Good luck, fellas.
Yes, thank you.
Girls.
All right,
Thank
Well,
you, John.
that's it for today. Tomorrow is our TikTok for business thing. So tune in, and I actually took Chris Neal's promotion for his live show and posted it to TikTok last night. So I don't know how it did, but I did put it on there. So Hayden, you're a star, buddy. And
He's ready. He's looking forward to it.
yeah. Well, make sure you do something fun too, like John does with spin the wheel or trivia, or do something to engage them. Buy one, get one free, something.
Okay.
I encourage that as well. So everybody, Hayden is going live tomorrow night at 6 p.m. on Pop Shop Live. John, I believe you're going live again on the 27th, if I'm right.
Yes.
Which is Friday at 1 o'clock. And we have other folks that are signing up. Will be going live, so I'll be sharing that information as well. So thank you all for coming, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Dennis.
Dennis.
Okay, bye-bye.